Unit 1, Day 3, or Day 5, we're going to talk about absolute value equations and literal equations. So let's just talk about what is an absolute value. Raise your hand if you've heard of an absolute value before. Okay, so y'all might can tell me something about it. It's always positive, very good. Why is it always positive? Very good. Absolute value is the distance a number is from 0 on a number line. And what he said was also correct. It's always going to be positive. All right? The absolute value is a distance something is from 0. So that's why an absolute value can't be negative, because there's no such thing as negative distances. There's sometimes we consider going to the left a negative direction, but there's never a negative distance. So if I get in my car and I drive to Walmart and I go 5 miles to get there, well, my distance was 5 miles, right? Well, if I leave Walmart and I go back straight home the exact way I came, what's my distance going to be? Now, I didn't do a total distance of 0 miles, did I? No, I did a total distance of 10, didn't I? Right? Because I can't have a negative distance. Even if you go backwards, even if I drove home in reverse the whole way, I still drove 5 miles, right? Okay, so you cannot have a negative distance. All right, so the way we see absolute value demonstrated as far as symbols go are these straight bars, okay? Those are called absolute value bars. Okay, so whatever's inside the bars, we have to consider that being positive or negative. Okay, so because what's the absolute value of 5? 5. And what's the absolute value? Oops, that didn't look funny. What's the absolute value of negative 5? 5. So both of those have an absolute value of 5, don't they? Right? The absolute value of positive 5 is 5, and the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. So anything that's in the bars, especially if there's a variable in the bars, like what we're going to do to solve these equations, we have to consider the solution being both positive and negative. So when we solve an absolute value equation, we have to solve 2 equations. All right? So let's just do some equations. I don't want y'all to look ahead. So for example, the first one says the absolute value of n equals 2. Well, what possible numbers could n be? Yes, 2 or negative 2. So on this one is really easy. You say n equals positive 2 or n equals negative 2. Because the absolute value of both of them is going to be positive 2. Right? So whatever's in the bars, we have to consider it being positive or negative. So this is basically saying the absolute value of what number equals 2. There's 2 solutions. It could possibly be positive 2 or it could be negative 2. Okay? So same thing with example B. This one says the absolute value of m equals 14. What possible numbers could m be? Right, positive 14 and negative 14. So anytime you have an absolute value equation, you're going to have 2 solutions, 2 possible solutions. Okay? So we're going to write 2, or end up solving 2 equations from now on. So those were the easy ones. Those were the most basic. Okay? So now we're going to actually see some that we're actually going to have to solve. All right? I'm going to give you a second, let you copy. Because I just got through talking a lot. And it's barely 8:05. Be rolling. No time to waste today. I got some. in some stuff in there with our variables, okay? So it's 5c, the absolute value of 5c equals 40. So what's inside the bars, I have to consider it equaling what two numbers? Now to get everything inside here, has to equal what? 40 or negative 40. So that's what we do. We take what's in the bars and we set it equal to the positive number outside and to the negative version of that number outside. So you take what's inside the bars, you set it equal to the positive version of that number, but it already is without the bars. So your first equation is going to look just like it does originally without bars. Okay? And the second time you set it up, you set it equal to the negative version of that number. All right? All right, then you just solve them both. How do we solve 5c equals 40? Divide by 5 on each side. So c equals 8. And then on this one, you do the same step. Divide by 5 on both sides. C equals what? Negative 8. So whatever is inside the bars, you set it equal to that positive number and the negative number. Okay? And then you solve it for the variable. All right. Let's do D. The absolute value of n plus 1 equals 12. Okay? So we make two equations. What does one equation say? And what's the other one say? Very good. That's it. That's what you're going to do every time, y'all. The first equation is just like the original without bars. The second one, you just change that last number to a negative number. That's it. Solve them both. How do we solve n plus 1 equals 12? Subtract 1, and n equals 11. And over here, you're going to subtract 1 also, and n equals what? And how many solutions do you have? 2. You're always going to have 2 answers to absolute value. Okay. And let's check it. What's 11 plus 1? Is the absolute value of 12 equal to 12? Yes. What's negative 13 plus 1? Negative 12. Is the absolute value of negative 12 equal to positive 12? Yes. Very good. All right, then our equations start getting slightly more complicated. Those were one-step equations. Now we're doing two-step equations. We have already quizzed on all types of equations, so we should know how to do any kind of equation by now. Well, we're working on it. You will be by May. All right, so the first equation says the absolute value of 4n plus 2 equals 34. So what do? What two equations do we write? 4n plus 2 equals 34. And what's my second equation say? Y'all, and when we write these two equations, you don't put bars with them anymore. If you put bars with them, especially if you put bars on this one, it's mathematically incorrect. All right? So you take the original one, and after you break it up, you don't put bars anymore. Does that make sense? These two equations should not have bars. So when you split it, you take the bars away. Because that's what we do mathematically when we make two equations, we take the bars away. All right, so how do I solve 4n plus 2 equals 34? Subtract 2 on both sides. So 4n equals what number? 32, then what? Divide by 4, and n equals 8. All right, there's my first solution. How do I get my second answer? Subtract 2. 4n equals negative 36. Then what? Divide by 4, n equals negative 9. Do y'all see how, since the left side of the equations are the same for both, you're going to be doing the same mathematical steps? You're just going to get different numbers over here on the right. Do y'all see that? And again, we can check it. 4 times 8 is 32 plus 2 is 34. The absolute value of 34 equal to 34. And then we plug in negative 9. That's going to be negative 36 plus 2 is negative 34. Absolute value of negative 34 is positive 34. Very good. All right, so F says, absolute value of negative 2b minus 5 equals 17. What's our first step? Make two equations. What's one equation say? Minus 5 equals what? And what's the next one say? Very good. So the only thing you change is the last numbers. All right? All right. So how do I solve for V? Add 5 to both sides. So negative 2V equals what? What's 17 plus 5? And then divide by negative 2. And V equals negative 11. And then on the next side, how do I solve for V? Add 5. What's negative 17 plus 5? And how do I solve for V? Divide by negative 2, and V equals positive 6. Very good. So how many answers should we have to an absolute value equation? 2 answers. All right, so then they start complicating it on us a little bit. Y'all can do it. Totally. What's different about G? Right, the variable is the only thing in the absolute value bars. Y'all see that? Okay. Here you go, y'all. If y'all notice on the rest of them, I'm just going to scroll for a second and point. Y'all don't have to do anything. But just a second. It's coming back. Do you notice how it's absolute value of something equals something? Every one of these. Absolute value of something equals something. Absolute value of something equals something. Y'all see that? On every one we've done so far. Well, now they start giving it to us where the absolute value part is not the only thing on that side of the equal sign. Y'all see that? There's something else with the absolute value bars on that side of the equal sign. So if that's the case, you've got to get your absolute value bars by themselves first. So I'm going to write that down and highlight it because it's important. If your absolute value part is not the only part on that side of the equal sign, get bars by themselves first. Do not split up and separate or do anything until you get your bars by themselves. Okay? Get the absolute value bars by themselves first. So on example G here, I want to get everything away from them bars. Okay? I want to get everything away from those absolute value bars. So that means I need to get rid of this minus 8. Y'all see that? Because the only thing I want on that left side of the equal sign is the absolute value part. All right? So how do we get rid of that minus 8? Add 8 to both sides. Very good. So that gives me the absolute value of y equals what number? 3. So now are my bars by themselves? Yes. So after your bars are by themselves, then you split it into 2 equations. All right? So after you get the bars by themselves, then you can split it up twice. So I'm going to get that inside, which is just plain y. Y equals what number? 3. Or y equals what? Negative 3. But you do not split until you get your bars by themselves. Well, they're going to get harder. Y'all know how it always goes. I show you something really simple, and then it gets, more fun. Yes. Well, I mean, if I don't teach you anything more challenging, then I'm not doing my job, and you will not be ready for any other math class. And that's my job. Y'all got 3 more maths to take after this one. I got to prepare you for all of them. All right, so look at H. It says, what's happened to the 6 in this absolute value here? They're being multiplied, aren't they? That's like saying 6 times the absolute value of X. So are the bars by themselves yet? No, I got to get rid of the 6. So 6 is being multiplied by our absolute value. How do you think we get rid of it? Divide by 6. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. So divide both sides by 6. And that leaves you with the absolute value of x equals what number? 4. So now are the absolute value bars by themselves? Yes, so now you split it up. So how do we split it? Very good. X equals positive 4 and x equals negative 4. Now with me? So if the bars are not completely by themselves, that is your first job. Look at I. Oh, I is basically like number H was. Number H. They're looking more complicated. So, are the bars by themselves right here? Not yet. What's being done to the bars? Don't even look in the bars yet. Just know these are bars, blah, 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 bars. Okay? It's being multiplied by -2. So what do I do to get rid of the -2? Divide both sides by -2. Very good. So that gives me the absolute value of n plus 3 equals what? 7. All right. Not done yet. Right? So now my bars are by themselves. So what can I do? Yeah, make 2 equations. Split it in 2. Right? So now I can say n plus 3 equals what? 7. And n plus 3 equals -7. So after the bars are by themselves, then you can make 2 equations. So how do I solve for n? Subtract 3, and n equals 4. And then over here I subtract 3, and n equals -10. Now we haven't checked one in a while, so let's check these. Now, what was in black was my original, right? I did all this work. You know, y'all see all this red on my screen? That's me showing my work, right? Guess how many pencil markers are going to be on your practice? Same amount, right? Okay. So let's plug it in. -2 times the absolute value of n plus 3 equals -14 is the original equation. So what's 4 plus 3? Is the absolute value of 7 is 7 times -2. Does that equal -14? Yes. Now let's plug in -10. What's -10 plus 3? -7. What's the absolute value of -7? +7. -2 times +7, -14. Yes. So these are checkable. Okay? Okay. All right. J starts getting a little complicated. It says -10 times the absolute value of h plus 5 and then -3 equals -83. So do y'all see what you're doing here? You're basically treating the absolute value part like it's its own variable, right? You're kind of treating that whole bars thing like it's a variable. Does that make sense? So you want to get everything away from the bars, just like you would a variable if you were just solving a simple equation, right? So what do you think we want to do first to get stuff away from the bars? Bless you. I don't have like terms. This one's being multiplied and that one's being subtracted. So you add 3 to both sides. Yeah, add 3 to both sides. Just like it was a 2-step equation. So that's -10 times the absolute value of h plus 5 equals what number? -80. Okay. Be nice. Now what? Divide by -10. And y'all see how it's kind of important that you make sure your bars are like longer than like a 1 would be, right? You might see that and think it's 51 instead of an absolute value bar. So make sure your bars are taller than what you would make for a 1. So divide by -10, and I get the absolute value of h plus 5 equals what number? +8. Now this number better always be positive, right? After you get the bars by themselves, we better always have a positive right here because we can't have the absolute value of something equal negative, right? Right? Okay. So now are my bars by themselves? Yes. What do we do after we get the bars by themselves? Make 2 equations. So h plus 5 equals 8, And h plus 5 equals negative 8. And how do we solve for h's? Good. H equals 3. Oh, I'm supposed to subtract 5, aren't I? Sorry. I'm supposed to be subtracting 5. It's negative 13, isn't it? Yeah. Lucky 13, like the classroom we're sitting in. I know. It is the 13th, and we're in D13, and we just got negative 13 for an answer. Triple up, y'all. Triple up. Okay, so after this one is some U tries. Okay? So after this one, y'all are going to do some on your own. Now, this one looks like a dang fraction, don't it? Say that louder, Jake, for the people in the back. Well, the people in the back are home with the flu, but say it louder anyway. All right, they're just dividing. That's all fraction is, dividing. Okay? Okay, something else to notice is the absolute value is only on the numerator. Okay, I kind of got a little crazy. Let me rewrite that. 2w minus 4. 2w minus 4. 2w minus 4. Absolute value of 2w minus 4. It was divided by 6 equals what number? 3. Okay, good. That's a little neater. All right. So, what's happening to these absolute value bars? They're dividing 6. So how do I get rid of that 6? Multiply by 6 on both sides. 6 divided by 6 cancels out. So that leaves me the absolute value of 2w minus 4 equals what number? 18. So now are my bars by themselves? Yes. So now what can I do? Two equations. So 2w minus 4 equals 18, and 2w minus 4 equals negative 18. All right, how do I solve for w? Add 4. What's 18 plus 4? 2w equals 22, and then I divide by 2. I got out of room. W equals 11. And the next one, I do the same steps. I add 4 first. What's negative 18 plus 4? So 2w equals negative 14. Then what? Divide by 2, and w equals negative 7. How many answers should we always have? 2 on an absolute value. Y'all try this one. Try this one. Let's do it without noises. Y'all gonna have to do some division. All right, you can check over it with somebody. How many answers should we have? 2. Okay, so this is the absolute value equation, right? How do we know it's an absolute value equation? It's got absolute value bars in it and an equal sign, right? The 2 requirements to make it an equation and an absolute value equation. All right. So, what did you have to do first? Yeah, you got to get those bars by themselves first. So, first thing you wanted to do is add 6 to both sides. So that's going to be 7 times the absolute value of 4n plus 8 equals what number? 112. Now are the bars by themselves yet? No, you still got to get rid of the 7. Now y'all, a common mistake. You cannot treat absolute value bars like parentheses. You cannot distribute. What's in the bars has to stay in the bars. Okay? It's stuck. All right? All right. So, what do we, it's 7 times the absolute value, so we get rid of it by dividing by 7 on both sides. Can somebody tell me what 112 divided by 7 is? Yeah, so absolute value 4n plus 8 equals 16. So now do we have the absolute value bars by themselves? Yes. So now what can we do? Make 2 equations. So one equation says what? And the other one says? How do I solve for n? Subtract 8. If you don't write your steps on your paper, sometimes we don't know what our steps were. And what is 16 minus 8? Then what? Divide by 4 and n equals 2. And over here, you subtract 8 and 4n equals. And the n equals. Raise your hand if you got positive 2 and negative 6 for your solution. Are there any questions? Okay, 2 more things I have to show you. Special cases. Write these down. What, Jake? I said what? Well, I didn't say it that way because that would have been a double negative, and the double negative would be a positive, and no. She said there could be a negative, but she didn't say. I said an absolute value cannot equal a negative, right? Now, what does this statement right here say? It's equal. It says absolute value of m equals negative 13. Is that possible? No, because we said that the absolute value is a distance, right? And since absolute value is a distance, it can never be negative. So, if you get your absolute value bars by themselves and it says it equals a negative number, you're going to write not possible. You never erase it. Yeah, it's not possible to solve it. No, it's not no solution, because no solution means you solved it and your variables canceled out. Okay? So you say it's not even possible to even start solving. Now look at the next one. Okay? Are the absolute value bars by themselves? No. So you can't say anything's possible or not possible to solve until you get the bars by themselves. So if I say you write not possible on an equation and the bars ain't by themselves, it's called you didn't try. Okay? You got to get your bars by themselves first. So how do I get these bars by themselves? Divide by -2 on each side. And then it says the absolute value of x plus 10 equals what number? Now what? Not possible. But you have to get your bars by themselves first. Okay? Got it? Now this is going to rarely happen. Let me look at your practice. Yes. Yes. All right. There are some on your practice that are not possible, but you better get your bars by themselves first, okay? Okay? And then once you have the absolute value bars equals a negative, you just stop and say not possible. Now, don't erase your work that you already did, okay? You need that work, but stop and say not possible. All right, that is it for absolute value equations. So if you want another piece of paper, we're not talking in between. We're just going on to something else. Now, this is something people always struggle with. I'll just be honest. So how are you going to get good at it? Practice it. I had to practice it. All right? But y'all, this is so important that it has its own standard. Everything else we've been doing have been the typical solving equations standards, okay? It's all been relating to one standard. Now, this is so important it has its own standard. You know what its standard says. Here it goes. Rearrange formulas to highlight a quantity of interest using the same reasoning as solving equations. So that means you're going to solve it like an equation because there's equal signs there. It is an equation, right? But what do you notice about these equations? They're all variables. Now, some of them will have some numbers, but these are all variables. So what I want you to do is rearrange this. You can call these formulas because some of them are actual formulas for things like this is the formula for a what? Yeah, the area of the rectangle, right? So some of them are going to be actual formulas. Some of them are just going to be made up formulas with lots of variables, all right? So you're going to solve for the variable they tell you to. So this first one, ax minus b equals c, wants us to solve for x. That means you're going to get x by itself. Move every variable away from the x. So x is right here. We're going to move everything away from the x. Okay? Now this looks like a two-step equation, doesn't it? Don't that look exactly like this? It looks exactly like that, except for here we know numbers. Those are just variables, right? So if we're solving this equation for x, what would we do first? We would add 5, right? We're getting everything away from x, we would add 5. Do y'all agree? So if we're solving this one for x, what do you think we're going to do first? Add b. So yeah, if all the variables confuse you, write you a one with numbers except for that variable and see what you would do first there. Okay? So we're going to add b to both sides. You don't. You just got to know your steps. That means you have to be good at solving equations. If you're not good at solving equations, you need to get good at them because you're going to struggle with it. And we spent a whole week on it. Plus, you learned it before you came to ninth grade. So we should be really good at solving equations by now. All right. If not, then you do practicing more. Now, do I know what C and B are? No. All I know is that they're different variables, so they're not like terms, are they? No. So when I combine them, I don't know what they are, and I can't combine them, so I'm going to leave AX, because that's all that's left on the left, equals, and we have to leave it C plus X, because they're not like terms. Okay? Now what's with the X? It's being multiplied by A, isn't it? So how do we get rid of A? Divide by A. That's it. Divide by A on both sides. So A divided by A cancels out because that equals 1, right? And that leaves you with X by itself. So your final answer is X equals C plus B over A. That's it. So these answers are going to be ugly. It's not a cute little answer like X equals 2. Okay? Because you don't know numbers to plug in.
How does that even benefit?
It benefits everything.
No, but like what?
Chemistry, anything you have units in, anything you have formulas in. Chemistry, physics, engineering, building class, nursing. This benefits you more than anything else we're doing algebra.
Like just the numbers, just the letters.
Yes, because variables are everything. Variables can be anything in life. Your bank account. Okay? It's everything. Everything in this world is dictated by formulas. How much interest you draw at the bank. How much interest you're paying when you buy a house or a car. Right? Everything in your life that involves your money, especially, is going to be dictated by a formula.
It really is because like you get to how you say that? Then minus like some stuff.
Bills, insurance, this, taxes.
Yeah.
Taxes are figured by formulas. Totally.
When we're doing our taxes, we're going to be using letters like that. No. I'm just confused. Like, why we wouldn't put numbers in there?
They represent numbers that you don't know. You don't always know. Like you need to know how much you need to save to draw a certain profit. How much you need to put in this investment to draw this profit. How much your house payment needs to be so that you can pay it off in 15 years. That's what you're doing when you're solving for variables. You're finding the unknown. There's always unknowns. We don't know everything. We're not God. Right?
So we found that C plus B equals A. And it's divided by.
Yeah. Whatever X is, we don't know what any of this is, but if I add C and B and divide by A, I can get X.
So you put that here?
You don't plug nothing in, honey. This is your answer. You're confused because you don't know how to solve equations, apparently.
No, that's not. Yeah, that's it.
That's all you're doing. It's the same. Don't worry about, oh, I'm confused because where am I going to ever see this? Trust me, you're going to see it. I'm grown. All right? I've lived a long life, double yours, and then some. All right? So, trust me. All right? You got to know, if I want to find this piece of information and I'm given this little bit of information, how can I figure out what I need? Okay? All right. This one might make more sense to you guys because it's an actual formula of something you know. Area equals length times width of a rectangle, right? Right. So, how would we find the width, say, if we knew the area and the length? Right. It's L times W, right? So how do I get rid of L? Divide by L. Divide by L. So, W's by itself already, isn't it? So area divided by the length equals the width. Final answer. So whatever variable they tell you, you just want to get that one by itself. And once it's by itself, you're done. Okay? It's really not. No, it's going to be the same thing over and over. We're just going to see different formulas. Okay? We're just going to see different formulas. Here's one. Y'all know what this is the formula for?
Interest equals something.
Y'all seen this before? The IPERT? Interest equals principal times rate times time. Your principal is how much you invest to start with. Interest equals principal times your rate, which is a percentage times the amount of time you're investing. Okay. Solve for T. Okay. Now look at these variables. Now we're going to have to stop the side conversations. You're going to make people really confused, okay? Because that gets confusing when you can't pay attention. What's happening to P, R, and T? They're all squished together. They're all being multiplied. So if I want T by itself, I need to divide by what? P and R. Now it's going to be simpler if you can divide them at the same time, right? And you can. Since they're both being multiplied by T, you can divide P and R at the same time, which is going to make life really easy. So the P's cancel and the R's cancel, and you're left with just T. And that's your answer. I over PR equals T. It is, because they were all the same operation. So you can do them in the same step like that if it's the same operation, especially multiplication and division. Okay. Shh, y'all. I'm recording this. Y'all just keep that in mind. Okay. V equals LWH. Y'all know what this is?
Volume.
The volume of a what?
Square, circle, all the way.
A rectangular prism, aka a box. Okay? A volume of a rectangular prism, which is also known as a box. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay. This time they want me to solve for the width. So, what's happening to the length, width, and height? Oh, they're all being multiplied. Which ones do we need to get rid of? L and H. Can we do them at the same time? Yes. So it's okay that they're split in the middle. They're still all being multiplied. So you can divide by L and H at the same time. So L and L cancel. H and H cancel. So volume divided by length times height equals the width.
Aid in blue, come to the office, please.
That's
Aid in
twice.
blue, come to the office.
All right. Are we okay with that one? We okay with the volume problem? So if it's the same operation, you can do it at the same time. Because if not, it's going to cause you more work and look confusing and all that stuff. All right. Let's do another one. M equals C minus S. Solve for C. Oh, this one's simple. What's on the same side as the C? S. What are they doing to the S? Subtracting it. So how do I get rid of S? Add it to both sides. Yeah, you don't know what M and S are, and they're not like terms, so you just write it. M plus S equals C. And y'all, I'm sorry, my S's and 5s look exactly the same. All right. All right, that's why I do cursive L's, because they look like one. All right. So y'all say that? You just do the opposite operation, just like it was numbers. That's it. You're just doing opposite operation. And these are variables, so you can't combine them. That's all. All right? Some letters are supposed to be in cursive. L is technically supposed to be in cursive when it's linked. And A is supposed to always be capitalized when it's area. And this one is. This is a formula for area of a what? A circle. Now, this is funny. Pi is not a variable. It stands for an actual number we know, right? 3.14159, and it keeps on going, right? Because it's irrational. All right? Okay? Don't. How are we going to have to? Okay. So we're not going to substitute 3.14 and for pi. For one thing, they're not equal to each other. If somebody ever says this, I won't even say it out loud. This tells you their mathematical intelligence. Okay? Okay? If somebody ever says that statement to you, they don't know, or they're trying to shorten things and they're speaking mathematically incorrectly. Okay. So, Area equals pi r squared. Now this one might be a little complicated. We're solving for r. All right? What's with the r? It's being squared and it's multiplied by pi. Right? So let's get rid of pi first. So how do we get rid of pi if it's being multiplied by pi? Divide by pi. Not funny. Especially if we don't understand. So area divided by pi equals what's left? R squared. Is that r? Is r squared the same thing as r? No. I've got to get rid of the square. Now what's the mathematical inverse of squaring something? Taking a square root. Yes. So if I want to get rid of the square, I'm going to have to take the square root. Now if I do the square root on this side, I got to do what? Square root on the other side. So squares and square roots cancel each other out, and that leaves you with just r. And so on the left side, I have the square root of the whole fraction, a over pi equals r. So to get rid of a square, you take the square root of both sides. And that r looks funny. So I'm going to fix it. So you might have one of those, I think, on your practice. So if you have a square, you take the square root of both sides to get rid of it. Okay? Y'all with me? Everybody look at that. Y'all okay with that? What we did? We divided by pi, and to get rid of the square, we took the square root of both sides. All right. Do not change pi to 3.14. Leave it pi. All right, let's see what we do with a fraction. Area equals 1/2 BH. Do y'all know what that's the actual formula for? Area of a triangle. Very good. 1/2 the base times the height. All right. So, yeah. So, y'all see how we're doing a lot of geometry formulas here? Yeah? Guess what class you take after Algebra 1? Geometry. Uh-huh. So, you might be needing this in August. It might be next January, but it might be August. All right. So, if you're clueless to something, just keep your mouth shut, please. All right. So, how do we get rid of a half? Multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Yes. To get rid of a fraction, you multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So, let's do that first. What's the reciprocal of a half? 2 over 1, which is just 2. So, multiply both sides by 2. So, 2 times a half makes 1. And 2 times a is just 2a, isn't it? So I'm left with 2a equals what's left? BH. And which one are we getting by itself? H. So how do I get rid of b? Divide by b. That's it. 2a over b equals h. That's it. So if you have a fraction with the variable you're trying to solve for, you multiply both sides by the reciprocal to get rid of it. All right? Okay. We good? How do we get good at these? Practice. All right, look at this one. K equals, I forget what this is the formula for, it's something for physics. K equals mv squared divided by 2. K equals mv squared divided by 2, and it wants us to solve for m. So we want to get everything away from m. Okay, I think I want to get rid of that 2 that it's dividing by first. So what's the opposite of dividing by 2? Multiplying by 2. So the first thing I want to do is multiply by 2 on both sides. And 2 times k is just 2k, right? So 2k equals, those 2 cancels, I'm left with mv squared. No, I don't, because I'm solving for m, not v. Yeah, y'all see that? So I'm solving for m. So how do I get rid of v squared? Divide by v squared. So I don't have to take the square root because I'm not solving for v. Y'all see that? You only have to take a square root as if the square is on that letter that you're solving for. So I'm done. M's by itself. So 2k divided by v squared equals m. that make sense? How are we going to get good? We're going to practice. So if you don't do your practice this evening, guess what? You're going to come to class and you're probably going to be worse off than you were already. Because right now it's fresh. Look at I, please. This is basically the same thing we just did. We're solving for which one? C. All right, so I want to get rid of my denominator first. How do I get rid of that D? Yeah, they're dividing by D. So to get rid of it, I'm going to multiply both sides by it. All right, so D times A, you can just call it DA or AD. And I'm just left with B plus C. I don't like much. What do I need to do to get C by itself now? Yeah, they're adding B, so and B is positive, so I just subtract B on both sides. So DA minus B, because I don't like terms because I don't know what those variables are, equals C. It's like Dab, don't it? Well, if you're at AD, it's the same thing. AD and DA are the same thing, right? It's multiplication, it doesn't matter the order. Is this getting easier? How do you get? It's because the thing is, though, y'all, there's so many different formulas we can make up off the cuff, or they're happening in real life. I can't show you every possible formula scenario in the world, right? But it's just opposite operations over and over and over. If they multiply, you divide. If they square, you square root. If they subtract, you add. All right? And you just got to get used to the answers being ugly. It's not variable equals number. Okay? It's variable equals more variables. Okay? With some adding and subtracting and dividing and multiplying. All right, look at this one. Short and sweet. V equals 2 times the square root of n. And we're solving for n. So right now it's solved for v, because v is by itself. We want to solve it for n. Yeah, first I'm going to divide by 2. Good job. So v over 2 equals the square root of n. And I'm solving for n. So what's the opposite of taking a square root?
You square.
Squaring, right? So you want to square both sides. So square root cancel and leave it in. Now this one has multiple ways you can write the answer. You can leave it like this, v over 2 in parentheses squared, because you square this whole thing. Or you can go ahead and square both of them. V squared is v squared over what's 2 squared? 4. So both of these are correct. So either one that you would want to say to me would be correct to me. Just keep in mind on a multiple choice, it probably won't have both of them. So you need to know that these are the same thing. Y'all see why it's the same thing? Because parentheses means the whole thing gets squared. It means every term inside. Y'all see that? Okay, so those are called mathematically equivalent, right? Mathematically equivalent means it means mathematically the same value, it's just written a different way. Okay? All right. All right. This is the area of a trapezoid, I think. Wait till next year.
Is there more?
A few. Yep. Practice. You gotta put your pencil to the paper and practice. 3 P's of doing good in math. Pencil to the paper and practice. If you want to whine, I add. I mean, honestly, I don't give a ton. So, and y'all's whining in class is taking up time. So we're solving for B1, and here's B1 in this parentheses right here, right? Now let me just give you a little clue. If what you're solving for is in parentheses, don't distribute. Okay? If what you're solving for is in parentheses, don't distribute. Trust me. All right. I want to get rid of that 1/2 first. How do I get rid of half? Multiply by the, which is what? 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So 1/2 and 2 cancel. So that leaves me with 2a, that's not a, 2a equals h times b1 plus b2. All right, now I can get rid of that h. So what's happening with h in this parentheses? Multiplied. So how do you think we're going to get rid of it? Divide both sides by h. Y'all with me? So now it's 2a over h equals b1 plus b2. Now what are we solving for? B1. So how do I get rid of B2? Hey, y'all are getting it. Y'all just aren't sure of yourselves. Y'all just not confident yet. Y'all can do it. So 2a divided by h minus B2 equals B1. And you're done. Yeah. Once you get the variable by itself that you're solving for, you're done. It's not pretty. Okay? It's not cute little answers. Sometimes you make more of a mess than it was to start with, but it's okay. It's still correct. Yeah, I know that's like smart people stuff. Like if you're watching a mathematical movie, that's what they do is basically rearrange a bunch of formulas on the board. Right? Yes, totally. All right, this might be one you've seen before.
No.
Has to do with science.
Celsius versus Fahrenheit.
It's converted Fahrenheit to Celsius. Yes. Yeah, degrees Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius. So right now, it's written in terms of Celsius. Okay? So if you know the Fahrenheit degree, you'd plug that in for F. And then you could crank out this formula and get Celsius. But we want to rewrite it so that we're solving for Fahrenheit. So maybe we know the Celsius degree and we want to rearrange it so we can find the Fahrenheit degree. All right? So we want to get F by itself. And it's in parentheses. So I told you not to do what first? Don't distribute. Okay? Is everybody writing this down? If you're not writing with me, you're not participating. And you sure ain't going to know what to do if you don't have notes. All right.
Miss Isabel,
Yes?
I need Kirsten and Kitty to come to the office right quick, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So how do we get rid of 5 ninths? You multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is 9 over 5. So multiply by 9 over 5 on both sides, and those fractions cancel. So leave it 9/5 times c equals, now you're just left with what's in the inside, f minus 32. Y'all, we're almost there. How do we get f by itself now? At 32. So 9/5 times our degrees in Celsius that we know, plus 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So if we know Fahrenheit, we would use the original formula. If we know Celsius, we would use this formula that we just wrote to solve for Fahrenheit. Isn't that cool? So that's an actual useful one that you see in science classes. Yes. Yes. It's just been a while. Knocking them loose. How are we going to get good at this, y'all? Are you practicing if your pencil does not touch your paper? If you're staring at the screen, is that practicing? No, practice means you're doing something, right? Okay. Y'all try this one. Y'all seen that one before, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah, we're about to start singing it a lot. Well, that's a good thing to remember. Slope-intercept form of equation of a line.
Oh, yeah, that comes to mind.
Good, we're about to be on it for about 2 weeks. Welcome to a semester class. We're about to be on it for about a week and we'll go on to something else that's even harder. That's why. Y'all signed up for honors. You're supposed to remember everything. You already solved.
I might go with it.
You shouldn't have signed up for honors. Or you're going to have to study extra. Go to tutor. Solve it for X, people. Pencil's moving. Let her in. Okay. 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 No, you don't move Y, you're moving to the Y. You're moving everything away from the X. So you're moving everything to the Y side. You don't move Y. All right, check it with a neighbor. Hint, your answer should look like a fraction. Okay, y'all help me out so we can have time to practice in a minute. What do we do first to solve for X? Subtract B. Very good. Do we know what Y and B are? So you leave it Y minus B, and now it equals MX. How do I get rid of M? Divide by M. So your final answer should be Y minus B over M equals X. Raise your hand if you got that for your solution. Any questions? Okay. How about this last one we just do together? This is also a linear equation formula. It's the standard form of a linear equation, which we'll talk about in week 2. We're solving this one for Y. So we're moving everything that's on that side of the equals to the side where C is. So what do you think we're going to do first? We're not subtracting what we're solving for.
Oh.
Yeah, divide by.
Do I divide by AX?
Oh no, you subtract AX.
Yeah, they're adding AX, so I subtract AX. Very good. So now I have BY equals C minus AX. Now how do I get rid of B? Divide by B. And now is Y by itself? Yeah.
Now it's always just going to be solved for one variable.
Yes. You can't, I'm not going to ever have to take solve for 2. So there you go.
Do that in the future.
No. All right, so I'm going to stop recording because that's the end of notes for today.